All right, let's talk about some items of the day that I wouldn't do just a video on specifically, but since it's kind of a slow day, there's just the one game. Yeah, there's still no trades going on right now. Why not discuss it? Artemi Panarin's changed agents. Let's all go crazy at the fact that now it's the same agent as Sergei Bobrovsky. They're going to go as a package deal. Um, Parise and Suter went as package deal to Minnesota. It didn't help them win a Stanley Cup. Made them a better team. And they're still key players, but no Stanley Cup. Of course, famously, Solani in Korea gave it a shot for a year in Colorado. That didn't pan out either. So when I see guys working as a package deal and you can get both, immediately I think that's not going to result in a championship. Because again, either they're going to end up with insane contracts like what Parise and Suter got, crazy, or maybe it'll be a short-term contract with whatever team they find, like what was found with Colorado with Solani and Korea, or they're just going to go to separate teams. And I honestly think they'll end up being on separate teams. I'd be very surprised to see them both go to the same team. Because neither Panarin nor Bobrovsky have won championships and shown that they're leaders on great winning teams, right? Panarin was in Chicago. This is the second time he's changed his agent since he joined the league. And Chicago, part of the reason they traded him is exactly this situation. They did not feel they'd be able to re-sign him. And he's not been... I'm not going to say he's been a jerk or he's been really difficult, but these are strange times in Columbus because they do look like a playoff team right now. They should make the playoffs. And yet, do you sell them off? What do you do? Now, in other news, Emil Pettersson, who is EP40's brother, has been acquired by the Arizona Coyotes from the Nashville Predators for Dauphin and Haluka, Adam Haluka. Dauphin, of course, for those who've played NHL games, the EA Sports franchise, Dauphin becomes an amazing player in a couple of those games. Not so much at the NHL level. Pettersson has not played a game in the NHL yet. His numbers in Milwaukee, not bad actually. So Arizona might be looking at him as perhaps untapped offensive potential. Now he's 25. He's not a young kid. He is the older brother of EP40. I'm kind of surprised the Canucks didn't take a run at him, but it is what it is. They may very well look at their depleted lineup and say, you know what, we're going to give this kid a shot and see what he can do at the NHL level. I have no problem with that. That's a good idea. I want to talk a bit about Sam Reinhart and the mistake he made yesterday. Last night, after losing a game to the Carolina Hurricanes 6-5, he threw the goaltenders under the bus. Goaltenders aren't good enough. Goaltenders need to make saves. It's dicey. So I get it. As a player on the ice, you're doing your job. You're doing really well. And Reinhart's having an excellent season. By all accounts, excellent season. So he's having this great year. And yet, while the team's scoring a lot of goals, there's a lot going in at the other end too. And I've been mentioning in my preview videos that both Carter Hutton and Linus Ullmark, their numbers have been dropping. Now, I'm okay with it because Carter Hutton has never been a starter in the NHL. He's never played a workload like this. You can expect there to be an issue with that. And Ullmark, never been a starter in the NHL. This is why when I ranked tandems at the start of the year, I had Buffalo near the bottom because I'm like, okay, they've got two guys. Neither of them have ever been a starter at the NHL level. I don't know. I don't know how bad this could be. I don't know how good this could be. I have no idea. But I can't project that it's going to go well. And, I have to try not to bury it. But, Hutton had the one great year last year. But his numbers over the rest of his career have been middling. They've been okay. He hasn't been bad, but he hasn't been fantastic. And that's why he was a backup. So Reinhart, he can come out and say something to the coach. If he wants to talk to his teammates, he can. I would recommend he didn't do so in an Uber. If he wants to go to the GM and he has a good relationship with Jason Botterill, no problem. When you've got the media talking to you about the loss, Don't throw the goalies under the bus. You can, how do I put this? It's okay for players to complain a bit. And I don't like the milquetoast answers any more than anybody else does. I don't like your standard answer from everybody regarding everything. But when you start criticizing your teammates, you're doing one of two things. You can either create a division in that locker room, or you can expose a division in that locker room. Whereas maybe Ullmark or Hutton or both have felt like, I don't know if our teammates are supporting us, and now here's this guy coming out and saying it. Or maybe everything has been fine in their eyes, and they're just finding out. They're like, wait, what's Sam talking about? And then before you know it, this blows up. So you don't bring this out to the press. Don't give them a soundbite like this. You want to say anything, just say, we're not playing well enough. Our defensive numbers, we've got to work on that. We've got to fix it. This is completely unacceptable. We're 4 points out of the playoffs. We should be in the playoffs. And, I look at every guy in this room as having some responsibility in that. And there. You don't have to mention the goalies at all. It's a really bad idea. And I look at some other teams that have had goaltending issues. I look at Carolina last year, and I can't think of a single time that the Carolina Hurricanes said, us? Look at Scott Darling. He sucks. This is awful. What was Francis thinking bringing him in? I never heard it, never saw it. And I, with the channel having a reach at, I'm at 74,500 or somewhere around there right now for subscribers. And I do get emails from people saying, I heard this about this locker room and this about this locker room. These kinds of things get said. Don't say them publicly. Don't. It's just no good can come of it. No goaltender's going to walk up to Reinhart after and go, man, I'm really glad you called me out. I'm going to play so well next game, I'm going to dedicate it to you. Really am. I'm going to name my puppy after you. Good old Sam. Yeah, it's not going to happen. Good news for the Canucks and for the Predators. Quinn Hughes, Dante Fabro are expected to sign their entry-level contracts after this NCAA season is over. Canucks have never been shy about burning the first year on a contract, so I wouldn't be surprised if he comes in, plays right away, and burns that first year on his contract. Fabro, the Nashville Predators have the depth to hold off a little bit and not burn the first year on that contract. The Predators are in a very interesting position. So if Fabro can come in and jump to the NHL level right away, that's good news for the Preds. But they're in this wonderful position where they don't really necessarily need him to play well at the NHL level just yet. Again, Vancouver with the blue line, it would be nice if Quinn Hughes could just come in and play and be a top four defenseman. There's some issues in Vancouver with the blue line. I look at the one area that I think, okay, now that needs to be dealt with is the blue line. It's not the goaltending, it's not the forwards. I think it's the blue line. Anyways, so that's good news for those fans. Now, for people keeping track of what's going on with the trade deadline, I believe these teams will be buyers. These teams, I believe, will be sellers based on where they are in the standings right now. And I have no idea what these teams are going to do. Vegas, I think, is going to want to load up a little bit for another run. And I don't think any of these teams are in a position where I think they're going to make that big splash, like Panarin. Now, Vegas could, because Vegas likes to do it big, right? But if you're George McPhee, you may look at the Tatar trade from last year around the deadline and say, you know what? That didn't help us. And Panarin's a better player than Tatar, but I don't know what that might do to team chemistry. So we'll see. Toronto's not in a position to pick up Panarin either, but Toronto's got to do something this year because the cap crunch really starts next year with Hughes at 11 million and Tavares at 11 million, and you're going to see Marner at about 10 million, and that's all these contracts kicking in or just still being on the books. Toronto really kind of needs to make that rental work this year, and I'd be interested to see what they do. San Jose is kind of all in. As soon as they grabbed Erik Karlsson, they're all in. I look for them to be buying at the deadline. Tampa Bay, with where they are in the standings, they're going to want to take advantage of that. The Capitals, they want to win back-to-back. They know that a small deal or two at the deadline can help put them over the top. The Jets were favorites before the season started. I don't know that they're favorites now. I think Tampa's taken that spot for them. I think that Winnipeg's shown some weakness here and there along the last month or so. They only sit 1 point ahead of Nashville. Nashville's going to be buyers, so I think that makes Winnipeg buyers as well. And we may end up in a situation where Nashville may want a player, Winnipeg finds out, and they go, okay, well, we'll just offer more to make sure Nashville doesn't get them. The Flames, I believe, will be buyers as well, but the Flames won't go crazy. They're not going to get rid of anything from their future in exchange for just a quick run at it. And I think it'll probably be hockey trades when it comes to the Flames. Now, in that muddled middle of what are they going to do, Pittsburgh could very well find themselves as buyers, but how much more of the future can you get rid of? Like, Rutherford has to be looking at the prospects they have, the overall future of the franchise, and the big question being, so who's going to take over when Sid the Kid and Evgeny Malkin are, on the decline? And I don't know that you have an answer to that, and I don't know that you want to wager more of your future than you already have at trade deadlines in the past. St. Louis, I don't know. They were sellers about a month ago, according to everybody that I listened to or read. I didn't understand why then, and they're not going to be trading away a bunch at the deadline now. But other than a hockey trade, I don't know that St. Louis is going to be that active. Minnesota, replacing Koivu will be most difficult. We saw them lose 3-1 last night against the Edmonton Oilers. They're 2 points ahead of St. Louis, and St. Louis has 2 games in hand. So Minnesota is legitimately now in danger of missing the playoffs. So what are they going to do? It'll be very interesting, especially with them being the oldest team in the league. Philadelphia, I don't see them selling or buying. I think Philadelphia is going to kind of keep things the way they are, which would be odd because that's kind of why they got rid of Hextall, wasn't it? It's just not getting better. It's gotten better because they brought Carter Hart up, which Hextall could have done that. He didn't, but he could have. But yeah, Carter Hart, 8-game winning streak, kind of covers up all of the other crap and stuff. But when you look at the record right now, I don't know that Hextall would have got fired for the record being where it is right now. And I don't know that Philadelphia has really made any significant change in direction since he was fired. So I don't know. I don't get it. Vancouver, basically Benning's already come out and said he's not going to sell. Draft picks are not on the table for him to sell. They don't sound like they're going to be buyers either. And any Edler speculation, the concussion takes him right out of that altogether. I can't see him going anywhere. I think Vancouver wants to extend him. I don't think he wants to stay in Vancouver. So other than hockey trades, nothing for them. Dallas is tricky. They don't have a ton of prospects to sell off so that they can pick up somebody for a playoff run. And I don't know that Dallas is close. I don't know that Dallas is 1 or 2 players away from being, a Stanley Cup contender. Anaheim, a month ago, 2 months ago, we would have talked about how they're, they would probably be buyers, but now I have no idea. And if they decide to sell, I'm not sure who you sell or for what. Boston's been rumored to be buyers. If they're buyers, then they think they're better than they are, which is frustrating. I don't think Boston right now is a top Stanley Cup contender. I see them as a fringe contender, and I would be very upset if they made some big Rick Nash type move. The Nash trade I was fine with, and I still am. It was a shot. It failed, but it was a good shot, and Nash played relatively well, just didn't get the goals it was expected. But Boston, to me, is not really a contender. Chicago, well, we expected them to sell. We expected them to move guys and sell and get ready for next year. I don't know that that's the case right now. They're on a 6-game winning streak, and I don't know that they're going to be looking to sell. Carolina, same thing. They would have been expected to sell. I don't see it now. Could be a lot of hockey trades, I think. Colorado, same thing, right? Columbus, I already talked about Columbus. We don't know what Columbus is doing. Montreal's having an incredible run. I think the pressure to add anything to the roster at this point is minimal. Could I see them adding a little bit of depth here and there? Sure. I don't think they're going to go out of the way to do it. What are the Oilers? They're close to the playoffs, and yet they don't seem to be close to being a contender. So I'm not sure what the Oilers are going to do. The Islanders, despite their fantastic run, I don't see Lou Lamoriello mortgaging the future to try to go on a run this year. I think he'll be very happy with this season, even if they get eliminated in the first round, because I think this is seen as a stepping stone to better things. Buffalo, based on Reinhart's comments, you'd think they'd be in on Bobrovsky. I don't think that's the case. I don't think Columbus would trade him to a rival in the same conference. I think he'll get traded to the West if he gets traded anywhere. And yeah, so Buffalo, to me, it's an interesting year for them. They were not supposed to be as good as they were early, but they also weren't supposed to be as bad as they've been since then. So they're really kind of about where was expected by many of their fans. Just how they got here is frustrating. Now, actual sellers. Ottawa, clearly. And yet, they're trying to re-sign Duchesne and Stone. Rangers, kind of clearly, because last year they sent out that email saying, we're done. And it's going to be a while. LA, well, they sent out a letter to their ticket holders this year saying, yeah, sorry, you're going to have to move things out. Now they've won 3 in a row, so that kind of buggers that up. Detroit, absolutely sellers. Florida, they're sellers, and, you know, they're trying to clear the deck, trying to clear off cap space so that they can bring in, potentially, Bobrovsky and Panarin this summer. Good luck to them. I don't know that if you had Bobrovsky and Panarin, that necessarily makes Florida a contender, and that's kind of the thing there, right? A playoff team, probably, but even then it's just a probably. Arizona, well, clearly, with getting rid of Dauphin and Haluka and picking up Pettersson, they're making hockey trades, and they're making quite the hockey trades. Arizona, I think if they could pick up a goal scorer at the deadline, I think they would, but I don't think they're going to do anything major at the deadline. I think it'll be just hockey trades, or maybe pick up somebody as a rental-ish, like somebody they can extend right after they grab them. I can't see a pure rental going to Arizona. And New Jersey, who are, I believe, sellers. So there you go. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Which of these teams are going to be buyers, which ones are going to be sellers. I only do this because about a month ago, the statement was there's going to be a ton of sellers and a few buyers, which means it's going to be a buyer's market. I really don't think it's turning out that way because the playoff race in the West is so close, and the playoff race in the East is tightening up. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.